Unbeaten tracks in Japan, letter 57, Otsu, Lake Biwa, November the 15th. 3 more days of traveling have brought us here, and in 3 hours we shall be in Kyoto. I wish we were beginning our tour instead of ending it, or rather that we were starting on another. Everything has been so smooth and pleasant, and so unexpectedly interesting, and the people have been so kind and courteous, as they always are, away from the beaten track. Mrs.Gulick's cheerfulness and kindness have never varied, and if I had ever felt inclined to grumble, the unweird good nature, brightness, and kindness of my runner would have rebuked me. I cannot tell you how sorry I am to part with this faithful creature, or how I shall miss his wailing services, hideous face, and the blanket-swathed form. But no, he's not hideous. No face beaming with honesty and kindness can ever be so. And I like to look at his, and to hope that one day it may be said of him, as of a child of such is in the kingdom of heaven. We left Yamada early on the 12th. We traced our route as far as Rokken, and reached the important town of Tsu late in the afternoon, by a fine road leading through a very prosperous and populous country of rice swamps of large size, between wooded hills and the sea. The evening was cold and clear, and the town looked its best. The crowded yadoya was very unpromising looking, but we got a quiet back room, and by dint of hugging hibachi and loading ourselves with futons, managed to keep ourselves from freezing and not to be more than a little stiff with cold when we got up the next morning to find a brilliant frosty day with a keen north wind. The servants watched our ways with stupid curiosity, asked us if we slept in our shoes, and remarked that it was very long since we had blacked our teeth. Policemen with courteous manners paid us a visit. In the evening, Mrs. Gulick went to a lonely quarter of the town to call upon the parents of a girl who had been in the American school in Kyoto. In the next morning, the father returned their visit dressed very richly in silk, and bringing a present of fine sweetmeats with a symbolic piece of seaweed attached. Few people in England have heard of Tsu, and when I proposed to visit it, I found few among the foreigners at Kobe who knew of it. And it lies so off the track of foreign travel that Europeans are a rare spectacle, and consequently we trade a prodigious crowd after us, with policemen hovering upon its skirts to keep us from undue pressure. This obscure Tsu is a city of 83,000 people, divided into 3 parts of rivers, which are crossed by fine bridges with long parallel streets crossed by shorter ones at right angles. Fine public buildings, a normal school, a new hospital on a height, 2 streets of temples, an open room inscribed in English with news for everyone's reading, and chairs and tables covered with newspapers inside. A great trade in coarse blue pottery, silks, and green mosquito gauze, curious shops in numbers, with the finest antique bronzes I have seen, and small pieces of old gold lacquer on which connoisseurs might spend a fortune, pottery and sweetmeats shops, the remains of a daimyo's castle with a fine moat, stone-faced embankments, with towers at the corners, a large telegraph office, and in the outskirts rows of wheelwright sheds where men were making cartwheels without tires. The main street terminates in a fine double-roofed gateway, and the pavement lined with booths leading into temple grounds as at Asakusa. There is a popular temple, crowded and shabby, but the lanterns in its portico, the candles and lamps by the shrine, by the cat-like thread of priests, the bell accompanied later needs, and the mumbled petitions of worshippers, heathen though they are, were in some sense refreshing after the intolerable emptiness of Shinto. Tsu, though so near the shrine of Ise, is a Buddhist city, and its 2 streets of temples with the grand gateways, paved courts, the priests' houses are quite imposing. Some of these gateways are pierced by Saxon arches, the only architectural arches I have seen in Japan. Somehow I left Tsu with regret. It looked a very prosperous and thoughtful Japanese city, and the people were remarkably kind also. We left at 11 when the sun was high and bright, lighting up the shining evergreens and glowing autumnal tints of a pretty hilly region, where villages with their deep round roofs peeped from among pines and maples. Soon after leaving Tsu, we diverged to the village of Ishinden, visited 2 of the grandest temples in Japan, which appeared to be unknown to foreigners, had a delightful day's journey through very pretty country, and in the afternoon, passing under fine torii, struck the beaten track at Seki on the Tokaido, the historic highway of Japan, the great road from Tokyo to Kyoto. From Seki to Otsu, it is a narrow carriage road, in some places full of ruts and holes, the latter having been mended for the recent journey of Mikado, but being filled up with twigs covered with mats.